Welcome to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast. Use the power of discovering new habits to create success in all areas of life. Body, fitness and nutrition, being, spirituality, passion and purpose, balance, marriage, kids and relationships, business, marketing, sales, leadership and systems. Transform your life by learning how habits work. And now your host, a husband, father, entrepreneur, trainer, coach, and warrior, Jesse Ewell.
Welcome back to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Ewell, and today we're going to be talking about the habit of sex and intimacy. And I have a very special guest, one of my favorite people with this topic, actually my favorite person with this topic, Susan Branton, trusted hot sex advisor to millions. And I am so excited to have you on the episode today.
I'm so excited to think about sex and intimacy as a habit, Jesse. I like that. It is a habit. And the more that you do it, the better your life gets. So what better way to express sex and intimacy than through a habit-based frame?
Yeah, I love it. So one of the first things is I kind of want to know about you is like, how did you actually get into this? Because I'm sure for as long as you've been doing this, you know, back when you first started, it wasn't a very popular topic to be out in the open. So how did you get started with this?
It's really interesting how much people's willingness and openness to talk about sexuality has changed, but really only in California. Yeah. I think we are definitely leading the sexual transformation movement out here in Cali-town. And I know you just moved to the OC recently, and welcome to the state. I am also a transplant. I'm a Philly girl originally, and then I lived in Scottsdale for a decade. And I came to California, I came to the Silicon Valley in the early 90s to make my mark upon the tech world. I always was a little bit of a geek. And I was living in Scottsdale and I was 30 years old and I wanted to get married, and all the dudes there were super conservative. And I'm a bleeding liberal in social with regard to supporting people to express themselves how they want to be expressed. Sure. I'm into radical self-expression, I suppose. And I'm not talking politics at all. Sure. I don't talk politics. I don't talk drugs. I don't talk religion, because I already am frickin' talking sex, right? Yeah. That's a big enough thing. So I was a tech entrepreneur, did a few amazing IPOs, lived in a mansion in Silicon Valley, had a powerhouse of a husband who was the inventor of Rhapsody, first online music service. We had a little kid. We were 10 years married. And on our 11th anniversary, we drank a couple gin martinis and said, oh man, what are we going to do? Our marriage we're roommates. We're sitting here living as roommates. And really what had happened was we just didn't have any sexual skill. And once the new relationship energy wore off and we had a kid and full-time careers, I mean, full fucking time careers, like giant careers. We were very much, we joke that we are people who invented the internet. I mean, the company that I was with, we created the cable modem that delivers your internet today, right? And Tim was the founder of Rhapsody. So we were very high end, very, top of the Silicon Valley type people. And our intimacy waned and we lost connection with each other. And, my husband was emotionally checked out and I was extremely physically distant from him just because we didn't know what the heck we were doing. We just, and nobody does, Jess, nobody does, because we don't learn these things. We're not taught these things in any way. And what I'm talking about, these things, I'm saying anybody can make a baby, slot A, tab B, that kind of stuff, and people can have sex. but they can't necessarily make love or explore their eroticism or their sensuality or their spirit connection to God through lovemaking, or their kink and wild side. These things are things that are best left to people who know the map to the territory, showing you the safe and sane structures for having these expanded sexual experiences, these deep sexual experiences. So what we decided to do instead of getting divorced was go to a lot of sex workshops and try to get some skills, mad skills. And boy, we did. I mean, our sex life took off. Every time we made love, every time we had sex, every time we did something new, we just got like more and more in love with each other. I fell in love with my husband harder, and he too, back to me, harder than we did in our 1.0 falling in love. Our new relationship energy was off the charts. I finally was having the kind of orgasms I wanted to have. He was finally having the kind of hot sex he'd always wanted to have. And literally the only thing standing between us and going through divorce, like all of our friends who were all getting divorced, and having a relationship so good that we actually started a company together, which almost 15 years ago now, we started a company together. We launched it at TED. We're old like vintage TED people. And we launched it in 2006 at TED in Monterey. That was when we launched our company, Personal Life Media. And so we have been, and it took a couple of years to figure out what we were doing and plan it and get it ready and execute it and all this stuff. And what we wanted to do was essentially take all the stuff we were learning in workshops and have those teachers bring that information online. I mean, it was back when it was like, we're going to take shit and bring it online. This is going to be amazing, right? And so we've done that. And now we publish my own work as well as the work of people who are my mentors and the people that I think are the best teachers in the world for learning things like female ejaculation and expanded orgasm, which I'd like to talk to you about. I'd like to talk to you about expanded orgasm because it's habit-based. So it's an interesting conversation for you, Jesse, and especially for the two of you. And because you have two little children, I really want to talk to you about expanded orgasm today. I think you're going to dig it a lot. We launched a lot of online programs, Revive Her Drive, a lot of the stuff when you heard me on Anthony's podcast, the Biohacking Secrets podcast, you heard there. And you're like, who is this mad woman? We were talking about a lot of techniques I taught them on that show was from my program, Revive Her Drive, and another program I have called the Seduction Trilogy, which is Seduce Her Tonight, the Seduction Accelerator, and How to Be Her Sexual Trainer. Because the masculine and feminine, they really need to, somebody needs to drive and somebody needs to ride. And you can switch, but it's really nice to create that polarity where your partner, you're riding your partner's ride and they've got you and they're taking you into this orgasmic experience. And so guys need to learn what to do that, how to get a woman to surrender to her pleasure with him and ride that ride. And they have to have enough skill to do it. And she has to feel comfortable enough with him to do it. But men love to do that. They love to give a woman an incredible ride. They live for it. Many men live for that. So, you know, we launched all these titles and we grew our business over the years, and we now have a lot of followers who we just give away free sex techniques constantly, bedroom communication skills, relationship techniques, sex techniques. And then if people want to go deeper, we have these programs. Oh, I want to learn female ejaculation. I want to learn G-spot pleasuring. I want to learn expanded orgasm. I want to learn how to seduce my woman in a monogamous long-term relationship so that she wants lots of sex all the time. I want to turn my wife on because she's had, you know, all the crazy shit that happens, religious repression or sexual shame or whatever. Fear, ignorance, you know, how do I get my woman to really love to have sex with me a lot? So we have a lot of different, we've got programs for women, all gender spectrum. And we've been doing that now for, this is, what is it, our 13th year in business.
Wow.
And we'll be cresting over to year 14 of being live and launched. So we've been working on this for 15 years. Learned a lot about what people want and what they need and how to meet them where they are and to bring them into their infinite sexual potential.
Sure.
So that was our journey, was going from flatline marriage to creating a little sex technique empire.
I think it's really cool that, you and your husband decided, hey, we're disconnected, but we're going to work on this together.
Yeah.
And I think, we could talk about sex all we want, but I think in the beginning is you made a commitment to each other to work on each other's marriage, probably knowing that, hey, I'm going to take this with me to whatever relationship I go to. And I think that's really powerful that you guys were like, hey, let's do this together. And then to not only do that, but to make a business out of it. And I think one of the most powerful things that you can do as a couple is co-create in your relationship. So I just want to tell you that that's really cool to hear that's how you started.
Yeah, he and I get along so well in business. God, we're literally a match made in heaven, the two of us. He's the numbers guy, I'm the letters girl. He's the back end, I'm the front end. He's the analytics, I'm the how about if we do this crazy thing, We just get along so well. We're so symbiotic in our business. And that gives us the lifestyle. I mean, we worked from Europe for a month this summer and everything was perfectly good. And we've got a great team, man. We run our international business on Asana and Slack. And, we are a highly functioning, excellent company where we think about ourselves as a family. Our whole team, we run a family business, which meets my values also, that we take care of everybody like family, and we feel that way. We live our lives together over the years. Many of our team have been with us for well over a decade. So it's just nice to have that deep, long continuity and purpose. We're a purpose-driven business. Our passion is passion.
Yeah, there you go. So why is sex so difficult for people to talk about, especially, we could say married couples, but I mean, literally kind of everybody outside of the state of California. But why is it so difficult for married couples to talk about this?
Religious repression, I'd say, is number one. Shame is number two. Number three is just lack of awareness and knowledge. Nobody to turn to, no one to ask. If you talk to most people, they just feel very alone around their sexuality. They feel very alone and disconnected and unloved, untouched, not enough affection, not sure what to do, tentative, nervous, worried, performance anxiety, not terribly comfortable with their own desires, all that stuff. So it's super hard for people to talk about. For Tim and I, the reason we could do it is we had everything to lose. So we had to get really honest with each other. I had to say to him, when you put your penis inside me for intercourse, I've never had an orgasm. And I've been doing this for you, basically for you, for 10 years with no pleasure. And I don't want to do it anymore. I can't believe that people think it feels good, because it just takes my energy down. It's like your penis is a blunt instrument that I would rather just use a vibrator and have an orgasm, because it's no good to me. Saying that to my husband, he's horrified, oh my God, because it felt so good to him. He didn't understand why it didn't feel so good to me. Yeah. And what people don't understand is that pleasure and orgasm are learned skills, man. You don't some people are lucky. Few people can, have orgasms from intercourse as far as the female bodied of us. But it's learned. It's so learned. I just did a couple of videos for a masterclass that I'm creating, and they were called the 14 types of male and the 16 types of female orgasm. And just thinking about the fact that there's 30 different orgasmic experiences that I can think of. And I'm always like, email me if I missed one, because I want to know how you're coming that I'm not aware of, because I don't know everything. Sexuality is vast. And so if you guys could co-create 30 different types of orgasmic pleasure, and then you stack on that the oral experience of sensual talk, or what I like to call cock worship, or yoni and lingam worship, and massage, and role play, and fantasy, and sex positions. I mean, there's just so many dimensions to really hot sex that it's an infinite playground for a couple who is open to taking in more awareness and knowledge. And for a lot of people, it's not that you have to learn something, it's that you simply just have to become aware that it's there, and then you can go do it. Like the map to the territory is almost enough. You don't need the step-by-step directions and the Google Nav, it's like, oh, look, we could do that. Let's do it.
Yeah. So one of the things that you started talking about was like, what is this religious repression? Like, what would that mean if maybe somebody didn't know? Like, can you kind of dive into that a little bit? Exactly like what that means.
Well, a lot of people are told, sex is only for making babies, or sex is dirty, or you're dirty, or those are nasty thoughts, or don't touch yourself, or any number of negative programs that are run. You need to stay a virgin, or he's unclean, or you could get an STI, or there's just so much negative programming around sex. When you're little, your mom and dad aren't saying to you, your dad and I, we just love to be together. He just makes me feel so good. We have such a special connection. We really enjoy just holding each other and being close and loving each other. And, sex is so pleasurable. And when you're ready, I want to make sure you understand how everything works. And I want to tell you exactly how the genitals work, and how to pleasure each other, and what to do if you get nervous, and how to understand what your boundaries are, and how to keep your heart and body safe. But I really want to encourage you to fully explore your sexuality, because it's one of the most beautiful things about being alive on this earth, that having your family, your friends, eating, moving your body, dancing, lovemaking is one of those most gorgeous parts of our existence as Homo sapien, this little animal on this planet in this time. And I want to make sure it's a really great part of your life. Like, nobody said that to anybody ever.
I don't think any part of that was ever said or taught. And, I think back to even when I was a kid, it was like, you can't do that. If you kiss a girl, she's going to get pregnant. And
right. All fear-based.
Yeah. So, and one of the things that comes up, even like for me and my wife, is we have a marriage boot camp.
I know. I want to hear about it.
Yeah. So what often comes up is like, hey, we have sex all the time, or like 2-3 times a week. And people think, hey, just because we have sex, it means that they're like connected. But then it's like, okay, well, are you having intimacy, which is kind of beyond that? And, a lot of people are like, well, what is that? And so it's like you said, hey, sometimes guys are like, well, we have sex 2 or 3 times a week, but it's basically like vaginal masturbation.
Right.
And, I think that's an important topic, because for couples is like, if it's a transfer of energy, and if it's a selfish energy, then I'm not doing anything for my wife or for the spouse. And so it's really just a selfish transfer of energy. And like, sometimes the woman's left like feeling empty,
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think very good things about people. And what I like to do is I like to have the frame that everyone's doing the best that they can do, and that husbands generally are not trying, they want their wives to have incredible pleasure.
Right.
Generally, men are biologically driven to give their woman incredible pleasure because they're competitive with other men, and they know that if they don't, then she'll find someone else. Many men, for a large majority of men, their biggest fear is that she will cheat on them. And so it's kind of almost this
survival,
subconscious,
okay,
or even unconscious fear. They don't even necessarily think it, but it definitely drives them. And yet you look at pornography, and it's mostly men watching it now. And there was an article in Time magazine that quoted some research where they did a spot check of 300 random segments of a porn video, of all different porn videos, 300 different porn videos, and 96% of them were degrading to women. So
Wow.
here you have the porn industry preying on men today, and men have such a high sex drive. They're using it as a masturbatory tool. And yet all of the imagery that's flooding their brain is degrading. And then they have to rationalize that with the mother of their children and, all of that. And
Yeah.
so modern day man is in, I think, a very difficult situation right now. I don't think it's ever been more difficult for a modern day man. And add to that their wife is often a full-time breadwinner. So she is now finding her power in the world. And she has a lot of masculine energy she brings back, which also marginalizes the relationship in some ways. If that's brought into the bedroom, it makes it more difficult because you need that polarity. You need that masculine, feminine magnetism to happen.
Right.
And so, man, I do not envy men. And I'll tell you, they're not mean, and they mean the best, and they want to do the best. But where do they go to get the information? You know what the biggest problem is? Facebook and Google don't let me advertise my passionate lovemaking techniques, because for Facebook and Google, it's all sex is bad. It's like all guns are bad. All sex is bad. They lump me in with everything else. There's no body determining whether my beautiful heart connected conscious lovemaking techniques should be advertised where someone else, there's nothing available to me. So I have difficulty even getting traffic to my beautiful work because of just being in the category that I'm in.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I come from fitness industry where I own my 2 gyms, and you couldn't talk about losing weight, couldn't talk about anything. And so you had to be like, hey, come to my gym. And it was like, you had to really figure out ways around that. And I'm guessing yours is probably even more polarizing, that you can't say anything about sex or, anything, or you won't get anybody to look at your stuff. So.
Well, on my YouTube video yesterday, I have I dress up in crazy costumes and I do YouTube videos because I just think it's fun to wear sexy costumes and teach sex. Like, I don't want to be a trusted sex advisor. I want to be a trusted hot sex advisor. Yeah. I think being hot and expressing your sexuality is one of the things that I like about who I am and what I model, is feeling I'm the CEO of my company. I'm also the face of my brand. And what I want to stand for is a strong, intelligent woman who loves to be sexually self-expressed and also loves to surrender in the bedroom, as well as be, the switchy one and completely pleasure my husband and I just want to have the full spectrum of all the things that anybody wants to be. I want them to have that. So I feel like if I can express that, I am someone who is standing for exactly who I am. And when you are in your happy moment, and for me, dressing up in lingerie and teaching sex techniques is like my happy moment, I feel like that just lets other people know, find your happy moment and be that thing that you're meant to be. But I did a video, and I want to say my YouTube channel, if you just go to betterlover.com, you'll find me, because if you forget my name, but you can remember you want to be a better lover, right? So just Google Better Lover and you'll find my YouTube channel. And I have a video that I just put up there with a friend of mine, Tim McHale, who I've been friends with for 25 years. And about a decade ago, he slipped on ice while he was on a jog and he broke his back and became a paraplegic.
Wow.
And he was suicidal. He wanted to kill himself. He was miserable, but he came through it, and he went on to go on Match.com and he started dating, and now he's totally in love, and he's having, he says, the best sex of his life, even though he's literally below the belt. Nothing moves. There's nothing going on. He doesn't have erectile function. Of course, nothing moves below the belt.
Wow.
And he said that this is the best sex he's ever had. And somebody wrote on my YouTube channel, "You're disgusting. I'm reporting you," for talking about a guy who had a disability and came through it and had a great sex life. And I'm like, all right, see, there's just freaking censors everywhere. Here I am recording an inspiring story of hope, because it's not being paraplegic. It's people don't go out because they're ashamed of their penis size, or they've been shamed by someone in the past. Like betrayal, cheating, shame from other people literally ruins people's lives, and they never date again because they can't get over it. They can't let go of it. And so I want to have these inspirational stories that are like, look, no matter what the odds, someone wants to love you. There is a person out there there are many people out there for everybody. Don't let these things hold you back. And somebody freaking reported me for that. And I was like,
yeah, and I would guess that they had something major happen to them.
Yeah.
So it triggered them into doing whatever. And I always think of, like, a lot of times the people who complain the most or turn you in the most are the ones that need the most help.
Yeah.
And that's just their way of like dealing with it.
But I spend 25 grand a year producing those videos. And if my YouTube account gets shut down because someone reports me because I was trying to give a story of hope, that's very unfair. You know what I mean? Like, I just get the worst of people's shame.
Yeah.
So I have to hold a big container for people. So yes, you're absolutely right. What did I do about that? I changed the title of the video to something that maybe I thought was less, I don't know. I had such a positive attitude about it, but then I realized, okay, people are confronted by this. Let's adjust it to an inspiring story of hope. Sex with disability, an inspiring story of hope. And maybe that will be something that will not trigger people, because that's the thing when you do what I do. I don't want to trigger anybody. I want people to move toward, not away.
Yeah, and I think sometimes by triggering people, they are going to move. Just sometimes some may move away, but a lot of times they'll move forward. And I think you make talking about this super comfortable to where someone doesn't have to feel alone. And that's one of the things I really appreciate. Let's talk about, I think we're going to talk about orgasm.
Yeah, let's talk about orgasms.
So let's talk about how a man can, improve with his wife, or performance with his, woman, whoever it is. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so you want to know how a man can give a woman more incredible orgasmic pleasure?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a couple things. One, you have to understand that the woman being estrogen dominant, there's a couple things to know about women that wouldn't necessarily occur to you as a man. And you've probably, now that I'll say them, you're probably like, right, yeah, oh, that's why she behaves that way. Or that's why that's so confusing to me. One of them is that because she's estrogen dominant, she has her mind on a lot of things, which is why it's a lot harder for her to just settle into her body. So you have to go above and beyond to get her to settle into her body and to release all of the things that she's thinking about. Because for the masculine, he's much more goal-oriented and compartmentalized. So it's just easier for him to like drop into sex quickly. So that's the first thing. And some ways to do that are to make sure that the environment is very nice in the way that she needs it. So I call that setting the lover space. One of the books I wrote, if I didn't send this to you, I'll send it to you, is Sexual Soulmates, the 6 Essentials for Connected Sex. And in over a decade of giving people sex advice, I realized that these 6 things were the things that took sex into passion. And like you talked about earlier, the partnership being co-creative and collaborative, that's very much what the concept of being a sexual soulmate is. It's not, some people think, oh, I've got to find my soulmate, or I've got to, they're out there. No, you can create them, especially in the bedroom. And so one of the 6 essentials is this notion of lover space, setting the lover space, which is what temperature does she need it to be? Are the sheets clean? Is the room tidy? Is the lighting nice? Does it make her skin look pretty, like orange or red lighting? Do you have water by the bed? Is it lube that she likes? Is it warmed up? Do you have towels? Are they soft? Is anything going to get, do you need to put down waterproof protection? I like to have, I take a waterproof mattress cover, a fitted mattress cover. And when we're going to make love, we get that out of the closet and we put it right on top of all of our bedding. So we just pop it right over the top, and then we put a fitted sheet over that so that we don't have to worry about lube getting on our covers, and we can just be as messy as we want, because good sex is wet sex and wet sex is messy. Messy sex is the best sex. Right. So that's a nice thing. So making sure that there's nothing but, your pubic hair is shaved back. There's no like little scraggly pube hanging down from the base of the shaft of your cock that's going to bother her when she's going down on you. Like every time I slide down, that thing tickles my lip. That takes her out of her body. So what do you need? If your beard is scratchy, can she say, hey babe, go shave closer because it's scratching me, so that she's not thinking it's scratching. And she's thinking, oh, this is amazing. He's so good. It feels so great. So that lover space, setting that up is very important. And when a partner sets it up for his woman, when he's like, I'm going to go in and make everything up. I'm going to get the water. I'm going to put on the music. Boom, the lights go on in a nice way. You've got the mattress pad, and she can kind of start to settle and relax and take a shower or groom or whatever she wants to do to kind of get in the mood, get some lingerie on, have a little space to kind of drop in as you're kind of muscling the infrastructure. And that really puts you in that I've got you, baby situation. What a woman wants is, I've got you, baby. You just tell me what you need. I've got it. And some men might initially think, well, that's very subservient. Shouldn't she be doing those things for me? No, because it's easy. You're stronger. You're fleet. You can do these things in a faster way than she can. And this is how you put in to the karma bank around sexuality. So it works very well, because then she knows, oh, he's got me, game on. I can just relax into the container that he's creating. Mm-hmm. So lover space is good. The second thing is that for a lot of men, they, because it's immediately noticeable with your erectile function that you are aroused. You either get an erection and then you feel ready to go. Right. In actual fact, you're not ready to go and you're not fully engorged. You've got about half of your penis buried inside of you, and that buried shaft isn't really fully erect at this point. And though you would love for her to immediately touch your penis as soon as it's erect, it's very comforting to you as a man to be like, she's got my handle. She's got me at ground zero. I'm good. This feels nice. That's not at all what she wants. She wants to be held first. She doesn't want to be turned on. First, the way arousal works is she needs to be relaxed first. And she needs to be able to get off of her chest anything that she needs to say to release emotion, to get to relaxation. So I give away a technique called the Soulmate Embrace. It's at soulmateembrace.com. I like to keep it simple.
You always have the best names, addresses.
Thank you. I spend a lot of time thinking about the things I call, the names I give things. That there's a lot of intention in how I name things. And the Soulmate Embrace, I really wrote the book so that it's just a little itty, I think it's like 14 pages long. You print it out. There's one page with step by step what to do, because what men like is a checklist. Women like the stories around things. So the checklist is padded in story, but the checklist is one page you can print out and give to your partner so that they can follow it. And you know this perfectly, Jesse. You know how certain things require form, whether it's a deadlift or jujitsu or meditation or yoga asanas. There's a form that comes to it. And once you've learned the form, then you can freestyle. Well, the Soulmate Embrace is a form.
Okay.
And the reason it's very specific step by step is that if you do it in the way I say, it's going to take 3 or 4 times to hold your woman in the way that I explain, because she's going to have a hard time settling into it as well, because you're holding her. I'll tell you what it is so that you can, you lie down clothed. Cotton clothing are nice because you don't want to sweat next to each other. You lie down in bed, you open your arm and she lays in your arm. If you've got those gorgeous shoulders like you do, Jesse, she could lay right on your shoulder. I mean, you've got the arms to hold a woman like I've never seen. You've got fabulous upper body. I'm sure I can't see your lower body, but I'm sure it's just as nice. And she lays against that beautiful pillow of your shoulder, and you put your arm around her and you can hold her across her wings or across her middle back or across her lower back, whatever feels right, whatever your body dynamics are. And you can move that arm, you can move this arm, but you're holding her close. And what you're doing is you're trying to get her to slow her breathing down. So you're breathing her, you're using intentional breath, and she's following along with you. So you've got to minimize the depth of your breath because your lungs are bigger, and you've got to breathe her to her slow breath. So you're breathing her and she's following along. And you want her to really relax and let down. And when she starts to relax, you want to allow her to speak any things that she needs to speak and just listen. This is not a conversation. This is just I need to tell you some stuff that's been on my mind. This is what we need to do. And then she'll get that out. And then she'll relax a little bit more. And often what happens when the masculine holds the feminine is that when he feels her, just let down, he lets go. Like, okay, she's good now, but she's not good yet. You're actually going to pull her a little closer at that time. And then you're going to just stroke her hair, stroke her arm, stroke her leg, stroke her back, rub her back a little bit in the sacral area, and just tell her you love her. And then just kiss her forehead. Maybe kiss her eyelids. Women love that. Her cheeks. She's your angel. She's your doll. She's your precious, precious, beautiful woman. That's the heart space you're getting into. And as you're I got myself goosebumps. I love that shit. As you're stroking her, what you're going to find is that she's going to get so relaxed that she'll notice after a few times of this is foreplay, by the way, that her mouth will start to water. When you stroke her, she'll notice that her yoni, her vulva, her female genitals, I don't call it a vagina because that's just one part of the anatomy, will start to contract a little bit and wake up a little bit. It's waking up her yoni. It's waking up her fluids. It's getting her relaxed. And all of a sudden, she's going to start touching you. And she's going to start feeling your body and how good your body feels to her. Your hardness and her softness are such a joy together. And then she's going to look at you and you're going to look her right in the eyes. And you're just going to remember how much you adore her. And she's just going to say, I love you so much. You turn me on. She's going to remember why she loves to be with you. And then you can kiss her on the lips. Peck, 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 peck. No tongue right in, because remember, you're goal-oriented. You want to put your tongue in her mouth. You want to put your penis in her vulva. You want to penetrate her and absorb her and eat her alive, right? But not quite yet. Then maybe she'll roll around. You can sit her on top of you and she'll feel your chest and you can start making out. And then you can start touching her breasts on the outside, never going right for her nipples. What you're thinking about when you think about a woman is you think about a bullseye with the concentric rings from the outside to the inner target. You want to think about her body being that, her arms, her legs, her back, then maybe her butt and her belly and her thighs, and then maybe the outsides of her breast and her face and kissing, and then maybe her mons and then her nipples. And then when she's inviting you in over time through this lovemaking experience, she'll want you to go inside her. She'll invite you in. But when you give her the space to really open to her desire, to remember, to let go of everything out there and to come inside that lover space with you, That is how that begins to start her arousal. Then you can go down on her. You can give her a genital massage. You can show her your penis. She can touch your penis. There's no need for her to do anything before she's ready. When you allow a woman to open to her desire for you, that's that soulmate connection.
Right.
That's
So I want to just ask you
space.
something. I kind of know the answer, but because I've heard this before, but I think it's important for men to understand is I think one of the big issues with men is they want their wife to initiate sex with them. And even a lot of the people I coach in marriage boot camp, they're like, dude, I want my wife to initiate sex with me. And I'm like, well, I don't really think that's her place. And based on what you just said, then that would make a lot of sense why they don't, is because, you know, we're constantly ready. It's like, hey, do you want to have sex? It's like, yeah, okay, let's go. And, you know, based on what you said, is that's not how it works for a woman. And so she's probably not going to initiate it in a sense of the same way, right?
Well, there's two things. Men really want to know they're wanted. They
Yeah.
don't want to force themselves on their woman. And so if she would initiate, he would know for sure that he wasn't talking her into something she didn't want to do. Women are also not naturally the initiator. And when you expect her to initiate, that puts her in the masculine, and you want her to stay in the feminine until you've learned how to fill her up with so much orgasmic pleasure that she's basically a slut for you and wants you constantly. And you can get her to that point as you learn more pleasuring techniques and become a better lover. So when your wife's not initiating, it's because you guys just haven't gotten there yet. And then when a woman initiates and you've filled her up with orgasms and become very good in bed together, she will initiate, but it'll be in a very different way. It'll be so subtle that you'll barely be able to read it. But she'll start to say things like, yeah, I want you, or yeah, it'd be great to have sex, or oh, I wish we could have sex, right? So she's thinking about it, but she's not going to throw you down on the bed until she's an extremely sexually confident and experienced woman. And most women are not that yet. And that's the experience that you're co-creating as lovers, is you're learning together all these orgasm skills and lovemaking techniques and trying new positions and doing role play and dirty talk. It's the word I like to think pillow talk or sensual talk, or, you know, like penis and yoni worshiping and things like that. You've got so many things to explore that over time, that one of the programs we have, the Be Her Sexual Trainer, it's part of the seduction trilogy. And to seduce your woman is to move her toward more pleasure. And there are really 4 keys to seducing your woman. Once you learn how to seduce her, and we can go into that, but I'm going to keep moving. I can come back to it. Once you learn how to seduce her regularly, you understand what a joy it is to hold the masculine frame of seduction and why she loves that so much, that initiating sex, you no longer need to initiate sex. You no longer need to ask for sex, because you're actually a master of seduction. And this is seduction with integrity and monogamous relationships. Seduction I'm talking about. How to seduce your wife after spending 20,000 nights in bed with her. It's the seduction that lasts a lifetime style of seduction. And so once you get good at seducing, she's in the slipstream of desire. She loves to have sex. It's satisfying for her. She doesn't have any performance anxiety. The shame is gone. It's just joy when the two of you can finally carve out some time to be in pleasure together, because she knows you're going to get her up onto that orgasmic, what I would call plane, there's some liftoff involved, which is getting her settled, getting her dropped in, getting her body aroused, because there's libido, desire, and arousal. Her libido is her health. If she doesn't feel good, she doesn't have libido. Her desire is things are good between you. She likes to be with you. You know, you turn her on. She wants to have sex with you. And then arousal is the next step, which is if she's got a good libido and she desires you, which is how most couples are. Then you have to learn how to move her into her arousal and what that looks like. And that's that bullseye, working your way in, slowly turning her on, stair-stepping her arousal up, giving her lots of engorgement to her genitals, her breasts, her mouth, kissing her, playing with her breasts, going down on her, really bringing the blood to all that tissue so she can get turned on. And a lot of guys are like, well, that's a lot of damn work. And it's like, well, I'll tell you something. It's not work. It's joy. When you're good at it, you love doing it as much as she loves receiving it. And then what happens over time is you've put into that sexual karma bank, then she becomes sexually alive and sexually ravenous. And then you're going to have to call in reinforcements because she's going to want a lot of sex with you, because now you've created this woman who's really into sex with you and loves to have it and feels good about her body. She's just really turned on. And if there's an opportunity for you guys to have sex, she wants to carve out the time to make sure it happens, because you know how to get her into that orgasmic zone and then just explode her mind in a million pieces of pleasure.
Yeah. And I think guys want to know they can please their woman. And so then they, on that other side, that's where they actually feel wanted too. So it's not a lot of work when you're getting what you want and you're giving your woman what she wants also. And that's kind of the way I look at it. I know you got to be off here soon, but what's one habit you would recommend for, men and women to start doing to improve their sex life?
Yeah. I alluded to the expanded orgasm practice earlier in the show.
Yeah.
And I have a website called Expand Her Orgasm Tonight. And there are 3 free pleasure reports on that website that explain what expanded orgasm is, what the expanded orgasm practice is, and how you can enter into this lifetime of achieving an orgasmic state together, going into a conjoined trance of pleasure together. It's a clitoral stroking technique that you might have heard about: orgasmic meditation or deliberate orgasm or extended massive orgasm. It's a clitoral stroking practice. And have you heard of those things? Any of them?
I've heard about, if you're talking about like the multi-orgasmic man, the book, I've heard you talk about a few of them, but yeah,
This is not a Montauk Chia technique. This is a technique that comes from California, a place called Moore University, and it was developed in the 70s. And essentially, you lay down in bed together, and you can do this to each other. It also works on the penis as well as the clitoris. They're basically homologous. They're the same tissue. And it's a very light stroke that allows you to take a woman into an orgasmic moment of time and then stretch that orgasm out over time, like stretching taffy, or creating a ripple in the quantum field, if you will. It's like such a interesting clitoral stroke that with your fingertip that you take her up into a climax, but that moment of climax actually just keeps going and going and going, like she doesn't fall off the cliff, if you will. And then when she does, you rest her and take her up again, and it's an even more intense orgasm that you can go even longer and longer. I can come easily for an hour straight, where I'm just stacking and expanding orgasms with my partner. And that didn't take us that long to learn. The first maybe 6 months of learning the practice, I was coming for over an hour. It's tiring to come that long sometimes. You have to be well fed. It has to be kind of, you do it in the morning type thing. Right. But it's fun to just see how long you can come once you get the practice down. And it's one of those forms. It's a form. There's 3 opening strokes. There's a bread and butter stroke, and there's a closing stroke. And you can do it for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, a half hour. It can be part of foreplay, or it can be just something that you do when you're not necessarily having sex. Or you can, what I find that's best, if you're in a partnership where your partner is not currently trying to make sex dates with you, like, hey, baby, I think we could have sex in these 2 hours when the kids are here, blah, blah, blah. If they're not actively getting on your calendar, then this is a practice I would recommend as the soulmate embrace and the zone theory, the bullseye technique, and which I learned from my mentor, Sherry Winston. And then this expanded orgasm practice, which I learned from my mentor. I had her create this program for me, Dr. Patty Taylor. She did her PhD thesis in expanded orgasm. She's one of the masters of orgasmic potential living on this earth today, who's also deeply involved in Kashmiri Shaivist Tantra practices and things like that. But we take all the woo-woo shit and leave it behind and just give you the practicalities of how to do this stroke and how to get into this incredible state of orgasmic bliss together where you will touch God. And that, when you do that without expecting to get sex afterward, and you fill that woman up with this incredible orgasmic pleasure, she will come sexually alive. And during the times of your life as you age together, when one of you isn't feeling well, or you're starting to have erectile dysfunction, or you're going through something, this genital stroking practice keeps you tethered at a deeply intimate level. Because, women, sometimes they can't have intercourse for a certain reason or another, but they can still have this practice with you. Right. So it doesn't supplant sex, it adds to sex. And that's a habit, a practice once a week, twice a week, a couple times a month, 3 times a week, whatever works for you. You'll go up and down in your practice, but my husband, Tim, and I have been doing it for 15 years regularly.
What I'm really hearing you say kind of throughout this whole thing is plan, like prepare for sex and do it in a way that opens your woman up to, like, surrendering to you in a sense. And that's really the habit that you have to work on. And then everything else kind of falls in its place.
Yes. Fill her up with pleasure and learn how to ride those waves together. You taking her, your finger on her clit is your hand on your steering wheel of your Ferrari.
Okay.
That's what that is.
Nice. And I've just started surfing about 2 months ago, so I like the ride the wave analogy.
Me too.
Well, hey, I really appreciate you being on here. I could go for another hour and easily ask you.
I'll come back.
But I just want to thank you so much for what you do, making it so easy to talk to you, and just the way that you talk about sex it's very comfortable to do that. So thank you.
My pleasure, Jesse. I have really enjoyed getting to know you too, and I'll come back anytime and talk about more stuff. And I'll send you the Expand Her Orgasm Tonight program so that you can practice that together, and then just call me anytime if you have any questions at all. I'm always available to everyone. If someone's on my email list and they send me an email, I get it and I reply. That's, I'm kind of like the Dear Abby of hot sex. So I'm happy to support you and all your followers and fans in their sexual expansion.
If any of my listeners want to, get more information from you, how would they do that?
You can go to soulmateembrace.com, or you can go to my Better Lover YouTube channel, or you can go to expandherorgasmtonight.com, and any one of those places will connect you with me.
Okay. And I will make sure that these are in the show notes so that they have access to that. But thank you so much for being here. If you guys are looking to connect further with a group of like-minded people, join myself and so many others in our Habit-Based Lifestyle Secrets group on Facebook, where I'll be dropping daily habits to help you live to your full potential. Maybe you want to be one of our next case studies and begin living this habit-based lifestyle. Feel free to reach out to me, Jesse at habitbasedlifestyle.com. Until next episode, have a great day.